Hello, namaste. Hope you're having a good day. At the end of my talk on Shakti, and there could have been a lot more to talk about with Shakti, so I might end up doing some lives or something so that we can do specific questions because it's not a easy thing to dig into because it's a vast subject. I know people don't even think of it as part of life, but it is the cause of life. It is everything that has to do with life. So it is everything. So there's a big, big, vast subject, and how it applies can be thought of in a very different ways depending on what you're asking about. So, but at the end of the video, I got to the point of freedom. And I really wanted to say a little bit about that, hopefully not too long or too much, but I can talk a lot. The idea of getting your prana under control, getting enough Shakti in your system, getting into the flow of letting the energy come, letting the energy go, letting it come and go so it creates a cycle within yourself. It creates freedom in your mind, it creates freedom in your body. Asana practices, which most people call yoga practices, are very much about finding freedom in your body. And that's why you do so many different postures, so many different twists, and you'll do so many variations of every pose that get deeper and deeper because you're able to get into another little corner where there might be stagnation and another little corner where you might be stagnation, and it creates freedom in your physical body. And if you can find freedom in your physical body, then your spirit gets a lot of freedom. The mind is the hardest thing to find freedom in because we like to fuck ourselves over and restrict ourselves with our ideas of how things are supposed to be, or with our ideas of, oh, I only want this person to see me in this way. I only want this to be perceived. I only want myself to be perceived in this way, and I want other people to see it exactly like that. Well, you cannot edit or have any control over how other people see you. You can only control how you present yourself. And so if you are feeling restricted in either of those ways, then you aren't free. If I'm worried about how my presentation is going to affect you, then I am not living in a free space. So my mind is very constricted because it's all a mental game. That's the jnana shakti. So I've built so many ideas and so much shakti up in my skull, in my brain, that I don't have any freedom to move around and wiggle room's the right way to say it in English. Sorry, I've been in non-English speaking countries, so my English has gotten a little bit restricted. But I'm having to remember all the words that I already know, or all the phrases I already know. So the idea of freedom is something that we apply to the outsides of ourselves, but never to the inside. Meaning internally, within ourselves, are we allowing ourselves to be free? Edited is one thing. You can still be free and still distribute the ideas from inside to the outside with a little bit of censorship. Not really censorship, but editing. Editing is the best word because you don't want to hurt everybody's feelings. Unless you just don't care and you want to, but then you may not have any friends. I very often don't care how I handle things when they come out, and a lot of times I piss people off. A lot of times people are endeared by my level of honesty. So I feel very free in my own self. A lot of times I create external restrictions based on finances, based on my former ideas of things. And if I can get back in touch with the Shakti, which is power, which is energy, which is God living inside me, I can always re-find my ideas of freedom outside myself as well. And I live a kind of a cavalier sort of a life. Cavalier might be a strong word, but I go to different places and I teach asana. I teach a practice that most of the people already know. If new people come, I teach them. And then when they start to identify with how I am teaching and they like it, they'll ask more ideas of mine. And then these things come up, these ideas of energy and prana. And like my first video was all about the way Nancy taught me how to tap into my prana and how to distribute it. And that comes up a lot, and a lot of people don't understand why they feel better after they do this stuff. And I said, well, I'm not a baby, because I've only been doing all this for almost 25 years, but I have done it for over 2 decades. So I have figured out a few of the tricks how to get through it and how to feel the prana move and how to feel more free in life, how to feel more freedom in my being. So if you can get freedom in the feeling of freedom inside yourself, your whole life changes. And this can be restricted based on your ideas of your job and what you have to do there. I often tell people go quit your job, and I don't necessarily mean quit your job, but if quitting your job gets you to relax around the idea that you've created around your job, that's what I'm talking about, because you can let your job fuck you over, and they're going to take advantage of every little thing that you give them. So don't give them so much. Let them have less of you. Do your job, and when you go home and it's time to go home, do it. Go home and leave it behind. Then you can be free. But you're doing your job to facilitate your life, not having a life so you can work. Work is to be able to make money so you can pay for life, living life, things in life. And that's a bigger idea of freedom to me than being restricted physically, like in a jail. I don't want to be in jail. I'm not saying I want to be in jail. I'm just saying that I keep the idea of Viktor Frankl keeps coming up. My friend years ago was a fan of his. I think the book was called Man's Search for Meaning or for Higher Meaning, something like that. He was a Jewish prisoner in a concentration camp, and he wrote all of these papers and hid them, and they were found years later. I don't remember the full story, his full story, if he actually got out of the camp or not. I cannot remember that. But I remember after that situation was over, the papers were put together either by him or by someone else when they found them into a book called Man's Search for Meaning. And I believe that was the title. I should look it up before I say it. But he, in his restricted life, because he was in a concentration camp and he was very restricted in his, not allowed to eat so much and had almost no space to move around, he had to find the freedom inside here. And the freedom inside here is where it really matters. And if you read that book, there are some passages in it that really, really can disturb you, because it makes you realize where you're restricting your own self. Granted, his external circumstances were very restricted by a whole country of people. But he found what he felt of as freedom inside his heart, inside his mind, because that was the only place he could have it. And if you feel those feelings inside yourself, it makes a whole difference in the way that you live your life. If you feel restricted by your job, by things of your job, oftentimes it's you doing it to yourself. It's not them doing it to you. But of course, once they realize they can do it to you, they're going to do it more often. Or stronger, do more of it. It's really up to you to relax around that. So I think you see the theme here in these videos. It all comes back to yourself. It really isn't about anyone else. Nobody else can censor you or put restrictions on you without you allowing them to. If you've done something wrong that goes against the societal rules that we're supposed to live by, and they put you in prison, that's one thing. What you do with your time in prison to find freedom inside yourself is another thing. it's all under your control. And I know that's not a popular way to think of it because we don't want to be under control. We want other people, this God or this external being we think that's there to take care of us. I do believe there's an energy there too, but that same energy, a piece of it's inside yourself, and that's what the Shakti is about. That's what the yoga practice is about, to get in contact with that, to build the Shakti that's inside yourself so that you have more power. Then it all comes about getting it under control. What to do with it, how to live your life, where to put your intention, to be focused, to be aware. People are always amazed how I notice every little thing all the time around me. And if I don't, I'm not in a good place and I haven't done my things that day. But that's what we're doing all this for, is to get a level of awareness, not awareness to make us sad and feel restricted, but awareness to make us feel free. So I can notice this thing, I can notice that thing, and I can notice this. And if I have control inside myself, it doesn't have to really affect me. Not affecting me is the key here. Not letting your shit become my shit. I think I'll leave it at that. Okay. Bye. Have a good day.